Hello and welcome to Let's Play The Seven Serpents by Steve Jackson. This is book number 3 in Steve Jackson's Sorcery series. There are 4 in total. Here's the front cover. The exciting new fantasy adventure in which you become the hero. Okay, let's read the synopsis. The fate of the land of Kakabad is in your hands. 7 deadly and magical serpents speed ahead of you to warn the evil archmage of your coming. Will you be able to catch them before they get there? 2 dice, a pencil, and an eraser are all you need for this adventure. You decide which path to take, which dangers to risk, and which monsters to fight. Complete with all the magical spells you will need, the 7 Serpents can be played either on its own or as part of the whole epic. Steve Jackson Sorcery. 1. The Shamutanti Hills, which we've done. 2. Kare City Port of Traps, which we've just done. 3. The 7 Serpents, which we're doing now. And coming soon, 4. The Crown of Kings, which indeed will come soon. Cover and illustrations by John Blanche. Okay, so we've read the page about Steve Jackson before, so I did that in part 1 of the Shamutanti Hills, so there's no need to do that again. The only difference is that the title of the book is now The 7 Serpents, and it still calls Spaceship Traveller. Okay, Steve Jackson Sorcery, The 7 Serpents, Penguin Books. To Marjorie, Harry, their own special creation. Okay, first published in Great Britain by Penguin Books Limited, 1984. Okay, we will read the introduction because that is different. Okay, introduction. Now, The 7 Serpents is the 3rd adventure in the Sorcery series, following the Shamutanti Hills and Kare City Port of Traps. But Sorcery has been designed so that each adventure is playable in its own right, whether or not readers have been through the previous ones. If you are new to Sorcery, you may prefer to start your adventure from the very beginning. The first adventure, the Shamutanti Hills, takes you from Alaland, your homeland, out into the wilderness of Kakabad, armed with a knowledge of magic to see you through your journey. The 7 Serpents is, however, a complete adventure in itself. Set in the Backlands, a no-man's land between the city port and the fortress of Mampang, you must seek out and destroy the 7 Serpents. For these serpents are the Archmage of Mampang's own messengers, and they carry news of your mission back to him. But above all, you must survive. New players will find all they need to undertake the journey as warriors. But if you would prefer the magic arts to the power of the sword, you will also need the Sorcery Spellbook, reprinted at the end of this adventure, to learn your magic spells before you embark. Readers who are now on the 3rd stage of their journey will be able to skip over the rules section and plunge straight into the adventure. Their characters, equipment, and experience must be carried over from the previous adventure. Okay, so the spellbook is now at the end of this book. So it's there, so it makes it even harder to resist the temptation to cheat. But resist I shall, because I know all the spells that I need to use. Anyway, we have already read this in the Shamutanti Hills, so if you want to hear me read this, then just watch part 1 of the Shamutanti Hills, and then I'll read through this again. Otherwise, we will skip it and go straight to paragraph 1, and I'm pleased to see that the book from which this was copied has not been written in. That's good. Always like to see that. And we've already read The Legend of the Crown of Kings. Okay, there's the map. And here's paragraph 1. Now, before we read paragraph 1, we need to turn to paragraph 130. Why, you ask? Because we have the silver serpent ring, which instructs us to turn to paragraph 130 when we start book 3. So off we go to paragraph 130. The serpent ring you were given will be an invaluable item in this part of your journey, for it has power over the Archmage's serpents. If you confront the serpents while wearing this ring, you can command them to reveal useful information. You can do this in the following way. At certain references, when you confront a serpent, these references will all end in a number 3. You may command the serpent to reveal its information by deducting 14 from the reference number you are on which you are, and turning to this reference. If you wish to do this, you must remember this instruction, as no option will be given in the text. If you do not have the serpent ring, you are forbidden from discovering this information, and you should not be reading this reference now. Okay, so that's like that old paradox thing where it's where you know there's a sign that says that instructs you do not read this sign, but the only way to the only way to know the instruction is to read the sign. So that paragraph at the end of that paragraph was quite similar to that. How are you supposed to know not to read it unless you read it? Although I do suppose it does say in these books, not to read any paragraphs that don't concern you. So yeah. Anyway, so when we encounter the 7 serpents, so when we encounter any of the 7 serpents, deduct 14 from the paragraph number. In fact, I won't put this in information. I'll put it in here. So new parentheses. There we go. Here we go. Deduct 14 from the paragraph number. And I'll just say in more parentheses, which ends in a 3. There we go. Okay, so that's that. That explains to us what we do with the silver serpent ring. Okay, so I'll just say for a clue or information. Okay, so that's that. Let's turn back to paragraph 1 and carry on with the adventure. Now, before we read that, we still have all the other knickknacks that we have. We have the lucky talisman, deduct 1 from dice roll when we test our luck. We have the other lucky talisman. We don't lose a luck point if we are unlucky. We have a large backpack, which tells us to ignore instructions and leave an item behind for another if necessary. We have the armband of sword mastery, which is +2 attack strength, and we have the broadsword, which is +1 attack strength, therefore +3 attack strength to all our dice rolls. We also have 4 provisions, and initial luck is now 12, our stamina is 21, and our skill is 10. Okay, let's read paragraph 1. Here we go. The dark storm clouds roll across the sky as you start your journey across the backlands. This stage of your trip will be the most testing yet. The plains of Badu-Bak are unknown to the map makers of Analand. Although certainly uncivilized, the backlands are inhabited by nomadic tribes and solitary creatures. You will find few friends here. But you must march on regardless. The crunch of your footsteps on the rough trail rudely interrupts the eerie silence hanging in the air. Apart from the great wall of the city port behind you, the landscape is featureless, devoid of vegetation, creatures, or any structural punctuation to the horizon. An hour later, the barren waste has changed not at all, but in the distance behind you, the faint callings of birds can be heard. The noise gets louder and you stop. They are gaining quickly on you. A sudden thought makes you freeze. Zaman birdmen? Surely not this far from their homelands. Crows? No, crows' calls are not as piercing as these shrieks. Then what? You turn to face your pursuers. From nowhere, a black shape drops from the sky. You duck just in time to avoid the sharp, outstretched talons of the attacking bird as it dives at your neck. You steady yourself and clutch your weapon. The bird has soared past you and up into the air to rejoin its group. 4 dark nighthawks now circle above you, ready to attack. How will you deal with these creatures? You may draw your weapon, turn to 258, or use your magic, turn to 178. And there's the picture. I have to mention this. The film Nighthawks with Sylvester Stallone and Rutger Hauer is It's not the best film, but it is very watchable, so I do recommend it. Anyway, it's one of those few Sylvester Stallone films where he has a beard. Anyway, yes, so we are going to use magic and turn to 178. Which spell will you use? Wall, 337, Fog, 380, Law, 430, Fix, 463, Mud, 483. If you know none of these, you will have to draw your weapon. Turn to 258. We are going to use Law and turn to 430. Here we are. Now deduct 4 stamina points. Puts me down to 17. The birds prepare to attack as you cast your spell, but when it affects them, they stop in the air as if waiting for some command. You order them to fly off southwards. They wheel in the sky and start to fly back towards the city port, but soon they stop as the spell wears off and they return to attack again. Turn to 314. Now the Nighthawks circle and prepare for another attack. Suddenly the formation breaks and their cries take on a different tone. Something has disturbed them and they seem to be in a state of confusion, but you can see nothing. A moment later a shape forms in the air in their midst. The Nighthawks shriek as a gold-crest eagle materializes and lashes out at them with its deadly beak. Your spirits rise at your good fortune. Gold-crest eagles are raised and trained in Analand as birds of war. But what is this great eagle doing so far from its home? The eagle snaps its razor-sharp beak through one of the Nighthawks and plucks at another with its talons. The 2 remaining birds turn to the west and dart away to safety. With the threat dispersed, the eagle drops down to land by you. Around its neck is a small tube containing a message sealed with the royal seal of the King of Analand, which you unroll and read. Okay, let's read this. We trust these tidings reach you in your health, but must warn you of impending peril. Your mission is discovered. The Mampang's eyes have spied our plan, and word is on its way to the Dark Fortress. Too late, we discovered our unwelcome eavesdroppers, and news of your quest is being carried towards High Zaman by 7 Serpents, the Archmage's most trusted servants. By now they will have reached the Backlands, and here they will divide to complete their journey separately. If you are still able, seek them out, for they must stop to rest and eat. Destroy the creatures before they reach their goal, else the Archmage will prepare a deadly welcome for you. Find Shadrach the Hermit for advice, for naught moves through the Backlands without his knowledge, and they spelled Backlands with a C there. Our hearts are with you. You look back at the great bird which has brought this welcome warning, but it is no longer with you. Having delivered its message, it will no doubt be winging its way back to Analand, flying safely under a shroud of invisibility. Studying the message again, you stuff it into your tunic. The instructions are wise. If your mission is to succeed, you must undoubtedly find and destroy the Archmage's messengers before word of your arrival reaches Mampang. Turn to 48. Okay, for several hours you continue your trek across the barren Backlands. On the horizon, a solitary leafless tree appears and you head towards it. You may rest and take provisions here and add 2 stamina points if this is your first meal of the day. Okay, we're not going to eat here. A noise in the branches disturbs you. You look up and hear a voice calling your name. High up in the branches, the bare twigs have formed themselves into a human face, an old man's face, and it's mouthing a message. The message drifts towards you. You seek the whereabouts of Shadrach of Badubak, that I know. To find him, you must detour eastwards from your trail towards the Fishtail Rock. He is expecting you. A breeze catches and disturbs the branches. When they settle, the face has disappeared. Will you head east as the face advised, turn to 150, or continue on the northward trail, turn to 94? Okay, and there is the tree with the face. There we go. Okay, we are going to head east as the face advised and turn to 150. The Fishtail Rock comes into view a little further on. It is well named, with 2 peaks, as if a huge fish were half buried on the plain. A fire burns outside the entrance to a small cave. You call out to attract the occupant of this dwelling place, and an old man shuffles out. You recognize the face of the tree spirit. This must be Shadrach himself. I have been expecting you, he says in greeting. I know of your journey from Kare. Be it folly or bravery which takes you across the backlands, I must warn you that none of Analand has crossed Kakhabad alone and survived. None takes singular, because it means not one. Come, let us chat by the warmth of the fire. I may be of some help to you, and for my part I wish to know what is happening in the city port. For some time you talk, telling him news of the outside world. He offers you a meal which you may take, adding 2 stamina points if you have not eaten today, or 1 stamina point if you have. Okay, so let's add the 2 stamina points. Puts me up to 19. You are anxious to know of the messengers of Mampang. Ah, the 7 serpents, he starts. Indeed, they are in the backlands, but I knew not that it was news of your journey that they carried back to Mampang. Let me tell you what I know of them, for they are no friends of mine. Legend has it that some 12 years ago the Archmage of Mampang fought and slew a mighty hydra which dwelt in the caves of High Zaman. So formidable a foe was this creature that the Archmage took its 7 heads to Mampang, where he used his black arts to resurrect them as 7 winged serpents. They became his personal messengers, and as an act of faith he assigned each to one of his own gods. In return, the gods bestowed their own powers on these foul creatures to aid the Archmage. The power of the sun was bestowed on the sun serpent, as was the moon on the moon serpent. Earth, water, fire, and air became powers of 4 more serpents, and the last, the serpent of time, was given perhaps the greatest power. But each has its own weakness. Discover these weaknesses, and you may defeat the creatures, but otherwise no mortal stands a chance against their powers. The serpents keep knowledge of their own vulnerabilities as their closest secrets. I myself know only one. The air serpent may leave its body and become a puff of gas, but while in this state it will die unless it is able to re-enter its body within minutes. Destroy its unprotected body and you destroy the creature. Okay, there's the Shadrach, or whatever his name is. There we go. It is now late. You may spend the night in Shadrach's cave and add 3 stamina points. Next morning you can set off again. Before you go, Shadrach offers you an ornate gale horn to aid you on your journey. Will you now set off northwards, turn to 85, or rejoin the main trail, turn to 230? Okay, so we're adding another 3 stamina points. That's convenient because that puts us back up to 22. That's good. And we are taking the gale horn. So we now have a gale horn. Okie dokie, good. Okay, we are now going to set off northwards and turn to 85. Here we go. You head on across the plain, keeping your eyes and ears open for warnings of danger. Suddenly, the ground beneath you rumbles. You lose your footing and fall over onto your back. Test your luck. If you are unlucky, you have broken 1 item of your equipment, the most delicate one. If you are lucky, nothing breaks. As you pick yourself up, you see the ground in front of you breaking up, and 2 long claws emerge. The hole becomes larger, and out of it crawls a giant Badu beetle. It turns towards you and advances. How will you fight it? With magic, turn to 191, or with your weapon, turn to 286. Okay, first of all, we have to test our luck. Our luck is currently 12. So we've got 5, and we were lucky, so that means we still have to... Oh, no, wait a minute, because, yeah, we actually deduct 1 from our dice roll, so we've got 4, really, which is still lucky. But... we were lucky, so we still deduct a luck point. There we go. So that's that. We don't have to break one of our items or whatever. I have one of our items broken. Okay, so magic or weapon. We're going to fight it with magic and turn to 191, and there is the beetle. So 191. Choose your spell quickly. Dart 370, Big 440, Sun 334, Zap 488, Mag 345. If you know none of these, draw your weapon and turn to 286. Okay, we're going to cast the Sun spell and turn to 334. Deduct 1 stamina point. Down to 21. Do you have a Sun Jewel? If not, deduct 3 stamina points as the beetle attacks while you are trying to make the spell work and turn to 286. Okay, do we have a Sun Jewel? Let's have a look. We have a lot of equipment. Right, okay. Sun. Yes, there it is. How did I miss that? Okay, yeah, we have a Sun Jewel. So we're now so we're now carrying on reading. If you have a Sun Jewel, your spell will cause it to glow brightly straight into the beetle's eyes. You increase the brightness until the creature backs off. As you correctly deduced, it is an underground creature which cannot tolerate bright lights. The beetle retreats into its hole and disappears underground. Turn to 24. Good. Okay, 24. From the beetle's hole in the ground, you may collect some stone dust. Then you must decide which way to continue. A long trek lies ahead of you. Will you head northwest, turn to 137, or northeast, turn to 12? Okay, so let's take the stone dust first of all. Stone dust, there we go, lovely. And then we are heading northeast, so we're turning to 12, northeast. You carry on tramping across the plains, watching for signs of life. There are none, or rather there is none, because none takes singular. None means not one. Anyway, there is none. But a curious sound in the distance reaches your ears. It gets louder as you continue, a sort of distant screeching. But nowhere is there any likely source of the noise. You look about quizzically and grasp in horror as you see ahead a pair of disembodied eyes glaring at you. Their gaze is hypnotic, but you shake your head to break the spell. The screeching noise is now very close, and as you blink your eyes, you can see its source. 10 yards ahead of you, there is a disturbance in the air. A shimmering heat haze is rising from a craggy boulder. As it rises, so does the pitch of the sound. Whatever it is has been distorting your view of the landscape ahead. Some way from the rock, the shimmering merges with the eyes, and the shrill sound turns into a high-pitched mocking laugh, as if a coven of witches were jeering at you. You stare in fear. As you watch, the shimmering rises above the eyes and a fearful shape forms. A dark-cowled creature with a skull-like head beckons you over with a single bony finger. Will you approach it as it wishes? Turn to 104. Will you run for cover in the rocks? Turn to 185. Or will you turn back and run from the scene as quickly as you can? Turn to 174. Again, there is the bony creature. Okay, we're going to approach it as it wishes and turn to 104. The sight in front of you appears to be a death wraith, and you step forward cautiously. Death wraiths are powerful undead creatures. It is still beckoning you with its finger, but as you approach, it spreads its arms wide to clasp you. You must act quickly. What will you do? Draw out a silver weapon, turn to 84. Draw out a normal weapon, turn to 32. Or prepare to cast a spell, turn to 310. We are going to prepare to cast a spell, and therefore turn to 310. Off we go. Here we are. Which spell will you choose? Nap 470, Mag 452, Fix 433, Dim 487, Sass 424. If you know none of these, you will have to face the creature with a weapon. Will you use a normal weapon turn to 32 or a silver weapon turn to 84? Okay, we're going to cast Mag and turn to 452. Deduct 2 stamina points. Puts me down to 19 again. Okay, you cast your spell and wait to see whether anything happens. The shimmering haze reappears and engulfs the creature once more. As it rises, the death wraith is being transformed and another shape now stands before you. A stout, balding man appears in its place who looks at you nervously and smiles. The death wraith has been an illusion. You may now fight the creature. Balding man, skill 6, stamina 9. If you win, turn to 143. If you would prefer to spare the man's life, turn to 72 instead. Okay, so I'm a little confused. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fight him until he has 1 stamina point left. And then I'm going to spare him. Or maybe I do have to defeat the whole... I'll just defeat him and then say spare him, because I'm a bit confused with this. Anyway, so balding man 6-9. Okay, so my skill is 10. His is 6. Okay, 6 plus 4 is 10. I get 10 plus 4, 14, goes up to 17. So 10 to 17. Puts them down to 7. Okay, 6 plus 8 is 14. I get 13, which goes to 16. So 14 to 16, puts them down to 5. Okay, I mean, I'll probably miss something. There's probably I just can't remember. Is there a spare him thing? Like if he only has 2 stamina points left, I just can't remember. Maybe it's in the first book. I just can't remember. Never mind. Anyway, okay. 6 plus 10 is 16. I get 25, so 16 to 25. Puts them down to 3. 6 plus 9 is 15. I get 18, so 15 to 18. Puts them down to 1. 6 plus 12 is 18. I get 21, so 18 to 21. Okay, well, that's that. Okay, so if you would prefer to spare him, returning to 72. He pleads with you, "Have mercy, stranger, I will not harm you. Perhaps I can help you if you spare my life." What are you, a bandit? Here, have my gold. Or a warrior? Here, take this chakram. Its blade is deadly and its aim is true. Hope I'm pronouncing that right, chakram. Yeah. Perhaps a wizard. I'll give you this magical powder for your spells, but leave me in peace. You bend down to pick up his offerings. A money pouch contains 9 gold pieces. Now, the chakram is a sharp throwing disc. Before a fight starts, you may throw this at an enemy. When you do so, roll 2 dice. If you roll a number less than your skill, you will hit it for 2 stamina points of damage. His magical powder is yellow in colour and is contained in a small glass vial. You lower your weapon and speak to the man. You ask whether the 7 serpents have been sighted in this area. Oh my, yes, yes, they flew over yesterday. In fact, one of them, his voice trails off and his eyes widen. Oh no, no! Ah! You watch in amazement as he keels over backwards. Something has frightened him to death. Turn to 143. Okay, so we have 9 gold pieces. So that puts us up to 55 gold. We also have a chakram thing. So that's chakram. So that is, what does that do? When you do, before a fight starts, you may throw this at an enemy. When you do so, roll 2 dice. If you roll a number less than your skill, you'll hit it. Okay, so it's test skill. So at start of fight, yeah. So at the start of a fight, test skill. At the start of a fight, test skill. Success means take 2 stamina from foe. And we also have some yellow powder in a vial or something. There we go. Okay, now we're turning to 143. And that's where we end the video. So next video we'll be starting on 143, which is unread. So thanks very much for watching. In the next video we'll be carrying on with the 7 Serpents. So thanks again and goodbye.